objective of this lesson is to learn about namespaces in Python. What is a namespace? In Python, a namespace is a table which maps from variable names to objects. Consider this a small program. It only has 3 lines. X is equal to 5. The next line is y is equal to x plus 2. And the last line is z is equal to cat. When Python goes through execution of this program, here is the namespace table that it builds up. As you can see, in the left column, you have variable names. And in the right column, you have the value for those variables. And this table is called a namespace. In Python, each module or each function or each class has its own namespace. This namespace is called a local namespace, which basically means it is local to that particular function. When a function is called or starts execution, a namespace is created for it. And when a function finishes execution, basically when it exits or returns, its namespace is deleted. The variables which are defined in the main body of a program are called global variables. The global namespace holds all the global variables. Let me explain the namespace concept using a sample program. In this sample program, I have first defined a function. The name of the function is fun1. It accepts 2 input variables, naming x and a. Inside the function, basically, I add x to a and assign it to a variable called y and return the value of y. In the main program, I have a variable called x, which the value of it is set to 3. Then I add x plus 12 and assign this value to a variable called z. Then I call my function and pass z and 9 to it as 2 arguments. Once the function returned, I assign the value of it to a variable called a, and then add 7 to a and assign it to the variable x. Conceptually, this program doesn't do anything. It's just an example to show you what happens in Python when you go through these statements and how the namespaces are created and deleted. So let's start executing this program. When Python starts executing, first goes to the first line of the program, which is when you define your function. And as soon as it executes that program, it creates a global namespace. And in that global namespace, the identifier is the name of the function, which is fun1. And Python knows that it is a function which requires 2 input. Notice that Python does not go inside the statements of the function because you did not call the function yet. Then it goes to the next line of the program, which is basically says x is equal to 3. As soon as that instruction is executed, then the variable name x is added to your namespace and the value of it would be 3. Next, you execute the next line, which basically you add 12 to x and assign it to the variable called z. And as you can guess, as soon as you execute this, the variable z will be created in your global namespace and the value of it would be 15. Now Python encounters the call to the function. And as soon as you call the function, Python jumps to the first line of the function and associates the 2 arguments which are passed to it. Notice that the arguments which are passed to this function from the main program were z and 9. However, Python knows the variables internal to the functions are x and a. So what happens? The value of z, which is 15, will be corresponding to x, and then the value of 9 would be corresponding to a. Also notice that Python creates a separate namespace for this function, and in that namespace creates the 2 variables x and a and associates that with corresponding values. If you look at the 2 namespaces for function1 and the global namespace, you notice that the variable x exists in both of them, but in each of those namespaces, that variable completely has a different value. This is exactly like 2 different people having 2 different phone books, and even though they may know people which have the same name, but the value of the phone numbers of those people may be different. Now Python goes to the first line of the function and gets ready to execute that. As soon as that line is executed, the value of x plus a is assigned to y, which in this case is 24. Then it gets to the return statement and it prepares the return value to be 24 and then jumps back to the line when the function was called. At this time, Python knows that the value of the right-hand side of this statement is 24. Then it is going to assign it to the variable a. And also, as soon as you come out of this statement, notice that the namespace of the function is deleted, and also the value of 24 is assigned to the variable a. Now Python goes to the next line and executes that line, which in that case, it adds 7 to the value of a. Since value of a is 24, then you can guess what happens. The result of the right-hand side of that expression would be 31, and that value would be assigned to the variable x. And notice that the previous value of variable x will be destroyed. What did you learn in this lesson? You learned about namespaces in Python.